Have you checked the children? You're a little mad sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes that is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil, Laird, here to review the 6th episode of Chucky. Going it solo this week because Fuego is unfortunately unavailable, but I'm going to still give my quick thoughts, and I'd like to know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below if you're still watching the series. So I enjoyed this episode. I thought it was another good continuation of what started in episode 5, which is all of the stuff from Cult of Chucky starts to really collide with the first 4 episodes of the Chucky TV series. So Jake and his boyfriend and Lexi and Junior. Well, Junior's kind of outside of that group, but the other 3 are still trying to take the fight to Chucky, even though they thought they killed him in the previous episode, but they realized that that was the wrong doll, apparently. And so Tommy is still out there causing trouble, and what he ends up doing is Junior gets separated from the group because the group still wants to keep him on the outs and not let him know what's going on. And so he unfortunately has to deal with the devastating news that his mom finally drops on both him and his father, of course played by Devon Sawa, and she lets them know that she has, advanced cancer and she's about to have to start to fight. And so Junior accompanies her to her next doctor's appointment, and she goes and talks to her therapist and lets her therapist or her doctor know that she is planning to not do treatment because every day is a gift, and for as long as she's healthy enough, she wants to live a full life day by day with her family. And so she goes outside into the waiting room and is about to text her husband letting him know. Then she erases the text, and she is caught off guard because Chucky quietly wheels it wasn't even a maintenance cart, it looked like a janitor's cart, and he just basically rushes the janitor's cart at the mom, who is up against the glass window. And I didn't realize the doctor's office was this apparently skyscraper, and so the cart knocks into her and she falls out the window and falls down stories and stories and stories, and it cuts to the parking lot and you see the cart hit another car, and then the mom hits the car that Junior is literally waiting in, with her face crashing through the windshield, looking basically directly at Junior in a death stare. And he obviously and appropriately freaks out. It was a pretty cool death. It was the most stylish death that we've had in the entire series so far, and I dug it. They did the slow motion as the mom got knocked out, and it was very reminiscent of the shot of Mary Jane being knocked off of the bridge in the Spider-Man trailer that just came out yesterday, which I did a trailer reaction for with Andrew. If you guys are interested, that's up on the channel. But this death was devastating, obviously, for Junior, and even though Jake gets wind, he hears what happened, and he tries to tell Junior, your mom didn't kill herself, because everyone believes that she killed herself, even though they don't question the fact that a janitor's cart went out the window with her. Like, why would she just run and jump out? I mean, I guess they thought she pushed the cart out to break the window or something. I don't know. You're left to make some leaps in logic yourself to understand why everyone would think she just killed herself under the circumstances. But the doctor says, well, she was trying to take back control of her life, in spite of the fact that she literally just told her, no, I want to live every day with my family that I can. So there's some conveniences that are taken in logic, and I don't know, I wasn't the biggest fan of some of that, but it was still a devastating death for Junior, and he obviously gets mad at Jake when Jake says, I don't think your mom killed herself. And Junior doesn't care at that point. He's just like, stay away from me, and walks away. Typical, extended drama when characters could just talk and he could join the fight or whatever. But nonetheless, while that's going on, the kids, or after that, I should say, the kids sort of home alone the house, because Jake even gives a line of dialogue that explains, oh no, Junior and his family are Junior and his dad family. One of the family is gone now. Junior and his dad are at the funeral home, and so they set up all this filament and wire all around the house to let them know, and tie it to a doll in the middle of the house to let them know when Chucky enters from any particular location. And so he enters and catches them by surprise still somehow, and first corners Lexi in an upstairs room, and instead of attacking her, tries to convince her suddenly to kill Jake. Didn't make a ton of sense when he could have just killed Lexi, but while he's talking to Lexi, and Lexi is playing along, like telling him how she'd like to kill Jake, Jake hears them talking and creeps into the room without Chucky hearing, and then creaks on a board, of course, and Chucky turns around and is like, he's not even really caught off guard, and he just runs and slides underneath Jake's legs and slashes his leg as he does so, and runs out into the hallway where Jake's boyfriend is, and Chucky just basically runs by him and doesn't even attack him either, just screams and runs by him. And then they all rush after him to try and stop him because they know he's going downstairs. And then Jake's boyfriend's mom shows up, and of course she is attacked by Chucky, and she ends up getting rolled down the stairs after that attack and cracks her neck just like Phil in Child's Play 2. I liked how that happened, except I was like, really? We're gonna kill that character already? The policewoman? Wow, that's kind of a surprise that they're doing that early, but how it was executed was pretty well. It sold it well enough, although they did the same thing they did in Child's Play 2, where like the body settled and then the neck cracked at the last second. It's like, it's not really how it works. If you're going to break your neck on the way down the stairs, it's going to happen on the way down the stairs, not once you finally hit, then your neck snaps. Like, that's... So, but they did it the same way they did it in 2, so they kind of did it wrong both times. So, good for consistency. That whole scene was so oddly done, and I hope they're going to give us a reason, because even the kids wonder, like, he didn't attack me. He didn't attack me either. So, because they called attention to it, I have a feeling they're going to explain it somehow. But after everything that he's done, I don't understand exactly why he would make that choice. I don't know. Maybe this whole thing, maybe the Chuckies were sent out into the world in order to find young bodies, young viable bodies that Chuck and Tiffany can put themselves into. You know, it's their way of staying immortal forever. They'll just find the right kids that they want to jump into, and they jump into them. I don't know. Or maybe they're finding new bodies for Glenn and Glenda, because why would Chucky not try and kill these kids right here? It makes me question, but I don't understand it necessarily. We do get a couple of other things. The show actually starts off with Andy and Kyle. We finally see Andy and Kyle that we got way back in the trailers for the show, and they're driving together and talking, and they show up at a house where there's a little girl and her parents, and they act like they're census takers and ask the little girl to bring out her dolls. She ends up bringing out Charlie, and it's a good guy doll. And when they come out, it's like the thing's like, "Hi, I'm Charlie, and I'm your friend to the end." So it does the whole thing that Chucky did as Tommy in part 2. And so of course Kyle and Andy immediately pick up on it. They have their guess, and then the little girl hugs Chucky, and Chucky like looks at Andy and is like, "You made me do this," and pulls out a knife, and Andy quickly grabs him, throws him on the ground, and then they obviously do a Pulp Fiction homage, because it's the same shot with Andy and Kyle that was Jules and Samuel L. Jackson. Or no, Jules is Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta, rather, in Pulp Fiction, when they just, their guns are down and boom, 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 shooting someone. That's where we find out they've been, and they cross paths with the kids, because the kids finally realize that they need to seek out Andy, because he's the one that's been dealing with Chucky the longest. So they connect, and now Andy and Kyle are starting to drive from, I don't know exactly where, I think it was Nebraska actually, and driving to Hackensack now. So that's what's going on there. And meanwhile, we get one new flashback scene, right, with Charles Lee Ray and Tiffany, as they get themselves a flashy new ride, which is a gorgeous car, but they end up, you know, of course, killing the guy that's trying to sell the car and splashing it with blood. And then we get more of, which we didn't make mention of this in last week's review because we didn't know it at the time, but young Charles Lee Ray is played by Fiona Dourif in heavy facial makeup. The whole bottom half of her face is done different to make her look like her dad when he was younger. So it's interesting to watch that. I don't think the makeup was quite as successful this episode as it was last episode. Like the 5 o'clock shadow just made it look a little bit faker than it did in the previous episode when he was kind of clean shaven. So I don't know. But I still am very impressed with the attempt. The voicing over is still a little bit cringy on the dub there, but I think it was better accomplished this episode than it was the previous episode. And then we also get a scene in the current day when Tiff once again accidentally brings out Nika's personality out of Nika and puts Chucky's away for a bit, and Nika doesn't jar her head right away, so Chucky doesn't come back. So Nika realizes she has to try and act like Chucky, but of course Tiffany sees through it very rapidly. She acts like, ooh, I actually like hanging out with you better, Nika. That confrontation was interesting, where she's like, I know it's you, Nika. I stabbed you in the leg 10 minutes ago. And that was an interesting reveal and everything. I liked how they did that. But then she's like, I like spending time with you better, Nika. And then she goes around and hits Nika in the back of the head with a frying pan, of course, trying to bring Chucky back out. So I think that pretty much covers everything that happened in the episode. And overall, I think it was pretty strong. I mean, again, that scene was awkward. I thought the mom death scene, Junior's mom's death scene, Junior's mom's death scene, not Jake's boyfriend's mom's death scene, because I guess we got 2 moms killed. And even in the next time on, someone points out, why is he killing our parents? Because he's basically killing all of everyone's parents. So I guess maybe that could be the reason why he didn't kill them. He still has more torturing to do before he actually kills them. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what his motives are, how it's all going to tie together. Because again, Kyle and Andy are coming. Apparently, well, that's the weird thing, right? The show kind of contradicts itself a little bit here. Because Kyle and Andy say, that was the last one, right? And Andy's like, well, no, there's one more piece of his soul, but it's in someone else. But there was this other Chucky doll running around that they didn't know about. That's now in the Tommy doll, right? I guess maybe it works like this. So early in the season, Andy calls Jake and asks, is there anything going on? Is there anything weird? And Jake's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. There's nothing weird. And so Andy just assumes that, because again, a bunch of the dolls were named Chucky when the toy was made. So I guess Andy was just checking on this Chucky doll, and since he found out that there was nothing odd going on, they assumed that that doll wasn't one of the ones with his soul in it. So I guess it's just their lack of knowledge, not the show contradicting itself. Let me rein that in a little bit. But nonetheless, now there is, the Tommy Chucky doll that's still out there. Kyle and Andy are on their way, and Kyle, by the way, looks really good. They've done a good job with her in the show. Christina Elise, taking care of herself. Good on her. Again, I'm not entirely sure how everything's going to play out at this point, other than it's still going to be Andy, Kyle, and the kids versus Chucky, Nika, Tiffany, and whatever dolls are remaining. I would still be very surprised if we didn't at least get a glimpse of Glenn and Glenda in some capacity by the end of the season. I don't know. It's just weird that they haven't addressed that at all if everything in the Child's Play movies is canon. You know what I mean? So I'm very, very interested to see how everything shakes out at this point. I enjoyed this episode. I think the season, I don't know, it hasn't really been up and down necessarily. Once or twice it has been, but I think it's been pretty consistent for the last few episodes. So I'm very excited to see how it goes. I think the acting, again, it's so weird. Jake has the same face for every time he's freaked out or sad at anything. And so it's just a little odd to me. But otherwise, I think everyone's doing a good job. I thought the Chucky effects in this episode were pretty good. He looked a little static at times, but I liked when it was kind of the slow conversion, when he was hugging the little girl and he's like, you made me do this, Andy. Because he turns and looks at Andy first, and then it kind of changes over. So I think some of the effects are cool. I think they're doing a good job there. And yeah, that is the 6th episode, guys. Why don't you let me know in the comments down below, what did you think of this episode? I would be interested to hear your thoughts. And thank you very much to our patrons for supporting the channel. I'm holding off on putting out the Ghostbusters Afterlife spoiler discussion until Thursday, because that's the day it's technically out for people to see, so spoilers going to be going around anyway. As a press, like, I got to go see a press screening, so I can't be the press outlet that releases spoilers ahead of the release of the movie. I can't do that, or else I'll lose my privileges, guys. Plus, it's not a cool thing to do, ultimately. So I will release the spoilers, but it's going to be Thursday, the day the movie's actually available. So thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, I've been Cecil Laird, and remember, stay scared.